Good, terrific. So let's start. Hi, everyone. I am Andrea Dominguez. I am Bizagi's whole product manager. I'm part of the product team, and I am very pleased to be here introducing how Bizagi integrates with RPA. So RPA, it's an emerging area, and we have lots of questions. What's that? How do I use it? Can I introduce it to my processes? Well, our intention today is actually to clear the path a little for you, so you can have an idea where to go. And the first question that comes to mind is RPA. It stands for Robotic Process Automation. How does that fit with Bizagi, the tool which we use to automate our processes? Do I use one or the other? Do I actually need Bizagi if I have RPA? Well, the idea with this presentation is to show you how we integrate Bizagi to RPA, and how we also position Bizagi and how the two just blend together. And we will share some use cases that will guide and share some light, because I'm sure once you understand how we work, lots of use cases will just come to your mind and say, yeah, this is where I'll use it for. So just a little context. Bizagi wraps around your systems, like the CRM, the ERP, and sometimes those systems and even legacy systems, they just don't play nicely if you want to introduce new technologies like RPA. So having an orchestration layer that can manage and coordinate all those systems working together is vital to introduce intelligence and content. And Bizagi and RPA, they just work better together. As an orchestration layer, we are aiming at working with our leaders in the market. So the demo that you're about to see run by Ernesto will be relying on UiPath, but we're also aiming at working with Automation Anywhere, Nividus, and Blue Prism. So the idea is that you don't preclude on any of the leading vendors, and you just use the one that best fits your needs. And the idea is that RPA is targeting a very specific problem, which is those activities that are heavily driven by humans that are doing repetitive routine tasks, retyping in one system to another the exact same information over and over again. With RPA, we're aiming at replacing those activities and have our people work where they work better, thinking, while bots do the operative tasks, the routine tasks. And that's where it all fits together. So Bizagi controls end-to-end processes, and RPA targets those repetitive and routine tasks. So Ernesto now is going to run a demo. So Ernesto.
Okay. So good morning, good afternoon to everybody. I'm Ernesto Castro. I'm a solutions consultant here with Bizagi. Been here with the company 15 years. And the idea for today is to actually do a live demo, okay? So this is not going to be recorded or anything like that, so this is live. First thing, I'm going to use a couple of slides to explain you the use case that we are going to run. So this is a traditional, customer service type of process. And what we have here is something without RPA, without Bizagi, without BPM, without automation. And basically what you have is that you can have a customer sending an email about anything to a company, telling them, for example, I have a suggestion, I have a claim, this is a purchase order. I need you to process this request, right? So what you have is that you have somebody, actually a human or a couple of humans or a lot of humans, reading those emails, understanding those emails, understanding the information within those emails, and most of the time, retyping that information into something else. And that something else could be what? Another email, could be another system, but actually what you have is a manual execution of everything. And the problem that you have is that you have a lot of cycles due to those human errors. Why? Because maybe you're sending something that is a purchase order, and this guy who is actually the expert in processing those purchase orders says, you're missing some information. I cannot process this. So I need to send this back and complete that information, right? And at the end, whenever everything is actually clear, I need to retype that again into maybe a legacy system to store the information where it really belongs. I mean, so it's a traditional use case. So what's the approach here? Basically, we are going to use RPA and Bizagi to make this happen more automatically. So here on the left, what we have is that we are going to have UiPath, in this case, RPA, to be able to start looking for those emails, right? And whenever a new email gets to our inbox, they are going to process those emails. They are going to understand the information of those emails. They are going to use OCR to maybe process some PDFs that those emails have attached, get the content of those PDFs, and send that as pure treated data into Bizagi. So we are going to automatically create cases from UiPath into Bizagi with the right data. Now Bizagi is the process layer. Bizagi is going to cover the process end to end. So a use case is repetitive tasks. And we are going to see here another use case of RPA. What Bizagi is going to do is, at the beginning, we can call some legacy systems maybe to get the right customer information. We got the email. With that email, we can get the rest of the information. But also, we need to analyze the content of the email. We need to understand if this is a suggestion, if this is a claim, whatever. So what we're going to do here is actually we're going to call a third-party system, in this case, Microsoft Text Analytics, using Bizagi connectors. And we are going to send the content of the email, and Microsoft is telling us, OK, these are the keywords of this email. I mean, in this case, it's a very simple example. But the idea is that you can use any third-party type of machine learning or artificial intelligence service to analyze that content. With that content, because of the power of Bizagi, we are going to decide, OK, in this case, I'm going to go to the claims subprocess, or I'm going to go to a purchase order subprocess, because I know what I'm dealing with, right? And then if there is a purchase order, we are going to do something different. In some cases, you have these legacy systems that are really old. And those legacy systems, they don't provide an API. Is it possible for anybody to make a connection? Yes, it is. But what we're trying to show you here is that sometimes it's better to use certain technologies to make that connection happen. So in here, we are actually going to use RPA, UiPath, to make that connection to the legacy system. So we are going to send the right data to RPA, and RPA is the one that is going to save data into the legacy system. Make sense? OK. So with that, it's done. We can go to, no, let me move here to the next demo. Let me, just a second. OK. So to start, let me show you a couple of things. First of all, in this demo, what I created just for demo purposes, I created a couple of emails with some content. Sorry, I mean, it doesn't look that well. But basically, we have emails here with a suggestion, a purchase order. And the idea is that in some cases, for example, in this one, we will have a purchase order with some information, right? So it's a PDF, it's pure data in the content of the email, and we need to process all those things. So we are going to use RPA to make that happen. So the first thing that we are going to do for this demo is I'm going to mark this as unread, right? And I'm going to tell RPA, please start reading those emails, OK? So RPA is launched. RPA got the information from the emails. I'm just adding these message boxes for you to see that something is happening, automated, right? And as you can see here for the second email, UiPath understands that there is an attachment. We understand the content of the PDF. It's going to take a couple of seconds here. Why? Because UiPath is calling the OCR service to understand the information in the PDF. So once UiPath gets the content of the PDF, now UiPath can structure that information to create the case in Bizagi. So we got the structure of the PDF, right? And Bizagi automatically creates two cases. Let me read this for you. 1365 is the case that is created in Bizagi, OK? So we have the case 1364 and case 1365, OK? So now, let's take a look on Bizagi. So in Bizagi, the first case, 1364, is going to be assigned, I think, to this user here, Neil Hernandez. Okay, so we got the case in his inbox. But now let's take a look what we have here. Let me move here this to the right. We have the information of the email, right? So basically, I know that doesn't seem much, but it's important because you have an unstructured information in an email. Now we have something that it could be understood. And in here, you have the response of Microsoft, getting me the keywords that were found in the email, right? The thing that happened is that Bizagi was not able to map the information of, the sender of the email to a customer. We don't have a customer related to that specific email, but we can do it. So we can see that this is Oceanic Airlines, and we can find Oceanic Airlines here, right? And we got the information of the customer. Of course, in Bizagi, you can also have the history of the execution of that specific customer. So basically, the idea is that you can bring to the end user all the information that is relevant for them to make a better assessment. Okay? Now, the other thing is what happened in terms of the process. Let's take a look here. In this case, the case was created by UiPath. We tried to get the customer data. We processed the content of the email, but we were not able to get all the things that we need. So this is an exception. And this in real life should be the least amount of cases in your execution. The happy path, and it's going to be the next case, should go directly to the proper sub-process. But we can handle, because of Bizagi's capabilities, the exception here. But once we have the exception, we can decide what to do, right? And say, OK, in this case, this is going to be a suggestion. So let me move here back to the customer information. And I can say, let's process this as another. And let's go ahead to the next stage. OK? Now, let's take a look of the other case. Should be an automatic case. So that will be the 1365. So let's log out and log in with this user, Eileen Bell. And we have the case 1365 here in her inbox. It's in a different activity. It's called review PO. Why? Let's take a look of the process of the case. Here, first of all, we are in the purchase order sub-process. If we take a look of the parent, we can see the path that the process took in order to get to this place. So everything happened automatically. So you got UiPath processing the email. You got Bizagi asking Microsoft what this is about. You got the business rules engine telling Bizagi, you should go this route because it's a purchase order, it's not a claim. So go this route. So you save a lot of time and effort and, these possible errors because of you automated that process here. And in this case, what we're going to have is that the customer information is already in. We have the PDF as a PDF. But more importantly, we have the content of the purchase order already as data. So we don't need to retype it. OCR made his part. We have that information here in place. And we can process our discount here. Let's say the discount is $350. And then the tax is going to be 5.6, right? We can calculate those things. We can save this, as always. We can check the request history as well. So all that information is here in place. And then the next step is we got all the information from the purchase, but we need to send this information to the legacy system. So now it's the integration with UiPath again. So let's click Next. And what is going to happen is that Bizagi is going to call UiPath Cloud. UiPath Cloud is going to call the bot in my computer, and is going to send all the data from the PDF into the legacy system. Okay? So it's a complete connection from Bizagi, UiPath, and the legacy system as well. Of course, that legacy system is just a simple, dumb Windows form that I created, but that's the idea. I'm not a developer, so sorry. So you complete the process. Now, let me show you how those things were built in Bizagi. Okay? So first of all, let me start saying this. I'm an expert in Bizagi. I'm not an expert in UiPath. But I did this demo, the complete demo myself. And a very cool thing about UiPath and the RPA vendors is that they have a similar approach that we have. It's a graphical environment. So you can create a process that defines what you're going to do. I'm going to read the information from the Outlook. I'm going to authenticate against Bizagi. I'm going to process each of the emails, and I'm going to send the information to Bizagi. So they have these things called actions where you can define those things graphically as well. So that's very interesting. But now, from a Bizagi perspective, how to call UiPath. So this is the innovation here in Bizagi. In Bizagi Studio, for the ones who know Bizagi Studio, now we have this new option called bots, right, on the left. And here in bots, we will have a very internal version here. So we will have more vendors in here. In this case, we have UiPath. And for every for UiPath, I can define several things. Like, for example, I can define the connection to the server of UiPath. But I can define also the connection to the specific process that I'm going to use to send the information to the legacy system. I select the process. I select how I'm going to send information, and everything from a graphical perspective. But I think the most important thing for me as a Bizagi expert is that the way I actually call RPA. So here in the process, I can see, as always, the business representation of the process. We have the sub-process here called purchase order. And in purchase order, we are going to send one at a time all the items in the PDF. So in here, we have a new shape in Bizagi. It's a bot type of shape, right? But the cool thing is that to call RPA, we are going to use exactly the same wizard as always. I was talking to somebody right now, and I think this is key. For example, I'm not a developer. I'm not an expert in all the technologies behind the scenes, but I'm an expert in Bizagi. So if I see something like this that I can recognize, I use exactly the same approach to call us web service, to call RPA, to call Excel, to call anything. I just need to map information from Bizagi to what in this case, RPA is expecting. So you don't need to understand UiPath's API. You don't need to code whatever you're going to send. You just need to map the information that you need to be sent. For example, in this case, the customer name, and we are sending also the description to that system. Of course, we can also process the response and get the response in here and make the call directly to UiPath. Make sense? So with that, I'm going to go back to Andrea.
Great. So I hope that by now you get the picture. Bizagi is the wrapper around your systems. Systems, devices, people, and bots. It orchestrates your end-to-end processes, while RPA targets those activities that are routine. So you can imagine the volume of your transactions will be dramatically increased. Bots are faster than us, and we will dedicate to thinking, to the overall process. We have, yeah, please. We have some use cases. You saw the onboarding demo, but I'm sure you are now thinking on all the use cases you have in your companies. And financial institutions have monthly cycles in which the same exact information has to be typed once and again in different systems. You have purchase orders, order forms. You have customers and vendors onboarding. You have Excels flying around your emails once, twice, 3 times, different systems. Well, that will be completely improved. And then this would be the end of our RPA presentation. I hope we have shed some light into your integration with RPA and the questions that you might have in this emerging area. Thank you.